Before she leaked the document that eventually put her in prison, reality winner was not shy about airing her opinions about Donald Trump on social media, calling him at various points an orange fascist, the tangerine in chief, and a soulless ginger orangutan. It's not the first time the president has been compared to that particular primate. 6 years ago, when the prospect of a Trump presidency was still the stuff of comedy, Bill Maher famously quipped that Trump was the love child of a human woman and an orangutan. Some say these comments are disparaging to Trump, but given the undeniable intelligence of great apes, we wondered, is it more insulting to an orangutan to be compared to Donald Trump? Regardless, it made us want to know more. So today we bring you the foremost expert on these incredible animals, Dr. Biruté Mary Galdikas, founder of Orangutan Foundation International, who joins us by phone. Thanks so much for taking the time today, Dr. Galdikas.
No problem. Glad to be here.
So you've been involved in orangutan conservation for a long time. Can you tell us how you became interested in these amazing animals?
I feel very strongly, actually, that I was born to study orangutans, and I became fascinated by them when I was a teenager and I was an adolescent. I looked at photographs of them, hadn't seen them in a zoo yet, and there was something about their eyes. Their eyes were eerily human-like, and I think part of it is because the iris, which is the dark part of the eye, is surrounded by white, just like it is in humans.
And orangutans are often compared to humans. They're quite similar from a genetic standpoint. Can you tell me about the derivation of the name, which is actually a portmanteau, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, orangutan is a Malay or an Indonesian word, and orang is person, and hutan is forest. So in their native Malaysia and Indonesia, orangutans are known as orangutan, or people of the forest. Now, the traditional local people have their own names and their own dialects or their own languages for orangutans. So some places are called Mawas. In my husband's locale, my husband is a native of Borneo, orangutans have several different names depending on the size and shape of their cheek pads and whether or not they have them.
And can you tell me a little bit about the intelligence of orangutans? How smart are they?
Orangutans are uncannily smart. They probably have the intelligence of a 3, maybe even a 4-year-old child. The problem is that they don't speak. They don't have spoken language. But one of my former students taught an orangutan sign language, and the orangutan was able to put together words to form simple sentences in sign language, in what is called Amazon, the American Sign Language of the deaf.
And what are some of the greatest threats to orangutans today?
Well, the greatest threat is deforestation. Their native forests are being chopped down, annihilated, in order to establish palm oil plantations and timber estates for pulp and paper. And also, like everything and everybody on this planet, orangutans face a challenge from global climate change. Some scientists put together a study that indicated even if not a single tree is chopped down, orangutans are going to lose about a third of their population simply through climate change if climate change is not stopped. And they will have to retreat up into the uplands and up into the mountains because the swamp forests in which they live will become either too hot, too humid, or will be swamped by seawater.
Do we know how many roughly exist in the wild today? And if those numbers dwindle, what is at stake? What are we losing if we don't have orangutans in the wild anymore?
Well, both the Bornean and the Sumatran species are recognized as being critically endangered, and critically endangered means that you have one more step left before you go extinct. It's the last step before extinction. So Sumatran orangutans, there may be 15,000 left. Bornean orangutans, there may be 40,000 or 45,000 left. But the problem is that they're dispersed. So individual populations are at the most, 5,000 or 6,000. So orangutans are in deep trouble. And what will we lose? Well, we will lose one of our closest living relatives in the animal kingdom. And we will lose a being that is benign, gentle, intelligent, and that has been living the same lifestyle in the forests of Borneo and Sumatra, and actually Southern Asia as well, during the Pleistocene, for over 1 million years. So we're losing something that is infinite value and infinite interest. It would be a tragedy if orangutans disappeared from the face of this earth as populations in the wild.
Absolutely. Orangutans are often invoked as an insult for humans. For example, in Australia, redheads are called rangers. Also, we see much comparisons being made to Donald Trump because of his hair color. Do you think that this is fair to orangutans?
The first I knew about this was an Italian legislator was called an orangutan, and I don't know why, because she had black hair. Well, I think it's inappropriate, and I think it's a little comedic, but is it fair to orangutans? Probably not, because orangutans they do have a sense of humor, but they're very benign, and no, I don't think it's fair to orangutans. I think it makes them seem caricatures of themselves. These politicians are not orangutans at all. If anything, they would resemble other beings in the primate order, certainly not orangutans.
Like what other primates, for example?
Well, I don't want to insult any other primates, but certainly there are other primates that are much more violent, that do commit the equivalent of genocide, that are full of, on certain occasions, trickery and deceit. And orangutans are not like that. They're not like that at all. No, orangutans are very benevolent and benign. And in reality, if you look at most animals, or virtually any animal, you'll find that that is true. If you think about it, Red Riding Hood and the wolf is actually not true to life at all, because the most that a wolf will do if you encounter him or her in the forest is you make a motion and they will disappear in a flash. So, I think it's insulting to animals to compare people that you want to insult to any of them.
Absolutely, and I think if orangutans are benevolent and gentle and intelligent, maybe we should consider them for elected office.
Well, I have to tell you something. There is an orangutan in Honolulu who was homeless for a while, in the sense that he didn't have a permanent home. Mm-hmm. He was housed temporarily in a small enclosure in the Honolulu Zoo. And I don't know why, but this became a front page issue in Honolulu. And his name is Rusty. And, the homeless orangutan, although he wasn't really homeless. And some people actually wrote in his name as a write-in candidate for mayor of Honolulu, because they said he was homeless, just like many people in Honolulu were. So it has happened.
I take it he didn't win, however, but hopefully he did find a home.
Yeah, he did. OFI, Orangutan Foundation International, which is our foundation, actually built him the largest enclosure probably of any orangutan in North America, or even the world. And he even has a fig tree.
Even has a fig tree?
Yeah, a huge one.
I'm jealous.
Interesting. It's a beautiful victory.
Well, Dr. Galdikas, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I enjoyed it.
Absolutely.